Well, I'm here with James Bentley. He's the manager of Gladstone Regional. Well, I'm here with James Bentley. He's the manager of Gladstone Regional Council's Revenue Services, and we're going to answer a few questions that the local community have regarding rates. So, James, thanks for being here this afternoon.
Pleasure to be here, Matt.
First one is general rates versus service charges. James, can you explain to the ratepayers or local community the difference between general rates and service charges?
Sure, Matt. Service charges are the charges we pay when we use a service, and the three services that come to mind are waste, sewer and water. So what a service charge is our contribution towards the provision of those services in our local community. So if I have access to waste, water and sewer, I'm expected to make a contribution to those services. General rates, on the other hand, are the charges that council levies on the community for the provision of income for council's general operating expenses. All the other services that council provides. It's a big pot that council uses to spend money according to the community's wishes.
All right, so lots of people, I always hear this argument over the years of rates time is, I've got a property in Brisbane and my rates are cheaper in Brisbane. Can you explain to community why that is?
When you look at rates and comparisons between different local government areas, you have to really compare apples with apples. Now, Brisbane has over 400,000 dwellings, residences. Gladstone has about 22,000 places where people live. It really is a function of size. We're 10,000 square kilometres. Brisbane's 1,300. We've got a huge network of roads, right from Rosedale all the way up to Mount Larkham and beyond. So we have to really do a lot, make our dollars go a lot further, and we've only got a smaller population. So that's why we don't have the same size, but we have to provide the same level of service.
Now, can you talk about how people can get a discount and how many days they have to get the discount, and also a bit about how they can get a concession?
Yes. Well, this should come from New South Wales, where hardly anyone gets a discount. So it's great to be up here when actually see a local government that's providing a discount. So what you do is, provided you pay your rates in full by the discount due date, which is normally 60 days after the notice is issued. So we will issue our notice in the middle of August. So by the middle of October, if you pay those rates in full, you'll get a 10% discount on the whole thing, except the emergency management levy, which is a Queensland government charge, and your water consumption. So all the service charges we spoke of, the rates charge, 10% discount, provided you pay by middle of October, 60 days afterwards.
Okay, one question which I sort of touched on before was concessions. What concessions are available?
The good news is that Council provides substantial concessions to pensioners, and we encourage pensioners to contact us to make sure and inquire about their eligibility. In terms of the pensioner concession, there are three requirements, and they're all pretty straightforward, really. You have to own the place, you have to live there as your principal residence, and you have to have a pensioner concession card issued by Centrelink or a gold card issued by DBA, Department of Veterans Affairs. So provided those three criteria are met, you're entitled to a pensioner concession, which is funded by Council and also funded by the Queensland Government as well. So in the financial year just ended, the average concession amounted to approximately $500 in the year just ended. So it's certainly worthwhile, if you have any questions about entitlement, to give us a call and we can help you make an application.
Okay, final question. If someone's having a hard time paying their rates out, what can we do to help them?
Call us first and we'll help you. We'll help discuss a payment plan, so you'll be able to avoid any interest payments. We'll be able to help you with any hardship relief if you're facing genuinely difficult circumstances, perhaps even get you in touch with a financial counsellor for free to help you through your situation. So what we can do going forward, if you plan, is you can make provision to pay a certain amount every week or every fortnight or every month, so that you might not be able to get the discount, but at least you'll be able to pay your rates in full by the end of the year. So please, it's very hard sometimes when you're in trouble, but just give us a call and we'll do all we can to help you.
Awesome. Thanks, James. We're adopting the Gladstone Regional Council budget on Tuesday. It will be live streamed, of course, on Council's website and Facebook. So tune in and we'll keep up to date on what's happening with our budget on Tuesday and general rates and service charges and all the rest of it that'll happen then. So thank you. Thanks, James.
Thanks very much, mate.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Well, good morning. The time being 9 a.m, I declare open the general meeting for the Gladstone Regional Council for the 17th of August 2021. There's no apologies. We do, however, have Councillor Glenn Churchill and Councillor Natalia Muscat joining us online. Do we have any? Next item on the agenda is messages of condolence. Councillors, do we have any messages of condolence? No, thank you. No messages of condolence. The next item on the agenda is the prior notifications of conflicts of interest, and I do have a prior notification of conflict of interest from Councillor Trevor. Over to you, Councillor Trevor.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I, Councillor Chris Trevor, advise that I have a declarable conflict of interest in agenda item G/3.4 2021/22 Strategic Priorities document, as this item includes the Jumpstart City Harbour Arbour, and I lease premises at 62 Gundoon Street, Gladstone, and own properties in the city heart with my wife Colleen Trevor as directors of Warrabale Proprietary Limited. As a result of my conflict of interest, I will leave the meeting room whilst this matter is considered and voted on.
Thank you, Councillor Trevor. Any further conflicts? Councillor Henson.
Just my usual, Mr Mayor. Item G3.2 is the Gladstone Airport Corporation Statement of Corporate Intent. Just that I'm a member of that board, just to remind everybody. I don't think there's a conflict of interest, though.
No conflict of interest as you're a council-appointed board member. Thank you. Further conflicts of interest? Councillors, in relation to item G3.4, Council Strategic Priorities document, I don't have a conflict unless councillors, in the body of the report, they just talk about candidates for federal elections. As long as that isn't discussed, I will remain in the room. If councillors decide to start talking about federal candidates, I'll declare a conflict and leave. The officer's recommendation does not mention candidates. So when we get to that item, if councillors would like to discuss potential conversations with candidates, I will hand over to the Deputy Mayor. Otherwise, I'll stay in the room. No further conflicts of interest. Thank you, councillors. The next item on the agenda is a Mayor's statement on current issues. And can I give a huge shout out to the team at the Gladstone Ports Corporation and all the volunteers and the sponsors. The first port to park, taking over from the Botanica Bridge, was a huge success. Thousands of people turning up to East Shores and then joining the fund run and participating in that event, raising money for local schools and their beneficiaries as well. So I was there, did the 3K run. Next year we might try and do the 9, but it was a fantastic event and it was good to see everybody out and about on the weekend. Coming up in the Gladstone region on the 28th of August, we have the Gladstone Multicultural Festival at the Tondoon Botanic Gardens. So good to see events kicking off in our region again. And of course, Spring in the Vale in Miriam Vale is happening on the same weekend. Councillors, today is our first meeting back in the council chambers with the public gallery, and I'd like to welcome back John and Tex to our public gallery. It is fantastic to have a public gallery back over more than 12 months, probably more than 18 months, I guess it has been since we've had a public gallery. Obviously, we've been live streaming the council meeting via the internet, but it's good to have a public gallery back. And I think it's a significant day today, having a public gallery and live streaming. It's the first time for our council to have both. And I want to give a shout out to, if he may be watching it at some later date, is former councillor PJ Sabanian, who called on council to live stream our council meeting, and it's his birthday today. So it's appropriate that PJ's birthday we welcome a gallery back and live streaming to the world. So happy birthday, PJ. Your wish is now happening, so congratulations. Tonight I'll be heading to the Discovery Coast Tourism Commerce meeting, and I'll be presenting there and catching up with locals at the same time. And of course, Stockwell will be giving their update on their activities and their developments in Agnes Water as well. So looking forward to that. The next item on the agenda, councillors, is the confirmation of the minutes. G2.1 is the confirmation of the general meeting minutes for the 3rd of August. Do I have a mover, please? Move Councillor Cameron, seconded Councillor Branthwaite. Thank you. Online, Councillor Churchill, are you moving and seconding, or are you wanting to question? No questions from Councillor Churchill. They'd be true and correct. Any conversation, councillors? I put the motion all in favour. Thank you. Online, Councillor Muscat as well. Thank you. Sorry, and that's carried. The next item on the agenda is the officers' reports, and the first officers' report is G3.1, the monthly financial report for the period ending the 28th of July 2021, and I'll hand over to the General Manager of Finance, Governance and Risk, Mark Holmes. Thank you, Mark.
Morning, Mr Mayor. Morning, councillors. The report is your monthly financial statements for the period ended of 28th of July. So very much is the first reporting period, and the financial statements essentially reflect the infancy of the reporting periods on the financial year. Probably just 4 things I'd like to point out with respect to the financial statements. One, with respect to our revenue, it shows the levying of our annual rate run. So the exclusion of the second water bill, so includes that as part of your 155 million there in terms of recurrent revenue. The other item is with respect to our expenses. So expenses, we should be tracking in and around 8% year to date. We are below that at the moment at 6.2, which is pleasing to see. The other 2 items are balance sheet items, which I'd like to point out, certainly with respect to our capital expenditure. So sitting at the moment at 3.5% against plan, 3.5 million, out of a 73.5 million adopted budget. So certainly reflects again probably the infancy, but you'll note there that there is over $9 million in commitment. So certainly a good chunk of work underway that helps us in progressing that capital works plan. With respect to our outstanding rates, very pleased to report that we've got a figure there before we essentially levy for the financial year and start recovering of just over 4% at 4.01% of the outstanding rate. So that is our lowest outstanding rates in quite some time, as you can see, as evidence through that graph. So certainly evidence of the good work, but also of the transactions that are occurring within the region with respect to property sales and the like. So what you generally see during periods of high property transactions is we do have lower rate arrears, because generally when houses settle, rates get settled as well. So that's very pleasing to see. Happy to take questions, councillors.
Thank you, Mark. Questions to General Manager, please? No questions?
No,
Councillor
it's
Hanson.
very early in the year, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to move just 1 month.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Seconded, Councillor Goodluck. Yes? Any questions online? No? Thank you. I'll put the motion. All in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Gladstone Airport Corporation Statement of Corporate Intent, Financial Year 2022. And I'll hand back to you, Mark.
Councillors, for your consideration today is a statement of corporate intent for the Gladstone Airport Corporation for the 22 financial year. Certainly is a statement of corporate intent that has been produced in obviously what is difficult times for the airport in terms of the uncertainty in and around passenger numbers. So certainly the volatility with respect to passenger numbers directly relates to essentially the bottom line of the airport. So the airport have done a good job with reflecting what they believe to be passenger forecasts based on current trends, but obviously if we do have continuing lockdowns and that in other states that reflects the flow on of passenger movements, then it's going to have impacts on our airline business. So certainly with respect to our financial position for last year, probably looking in and around circa a $3 million trading loss for the year. But based currently on what was presented in the statement of corporate intent, essentially a modest surplus of 500,000. But there is that downside risk that I do point out. There is no other major changes with respect to that, but in terms of the other than probably pointing out, there is $2.7 million worth of capital investment being made within the facility to make sure that it continues to provide those services for the region.
Thanks, Mark. Obviously, with lockdowns in almost every other state, and we only have 3 flights out on the weekend, it's going to continue to impact that business. So, yep.
Yes, Mr Mayor, there's only 2 flights a day and 3 on the weekend, so yeah, that's very much impacting income to the airport.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions to General Manager, please? No questions? No? Can I have a mover, please? Move Councillor Churchill, seconded Councillor Goodluck. Sorry, put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. That's carried. Thank you, Mark. The next item on the agenda is G3.3, which is the 2020-2021 Operational Plan Final Report. And I'll hand over to the General Manager of Strategy, Transformation, Carly Quinn. Thank you, Carly.
Thank you. Good morning, councillors. This report presents the outcomes as achieved for the 2021 operational plan and key performance indicators. As at the end of the year, the business had completed 80% of the agreed items. So that's 12 out of the 15 items. Of the 3 that were not completed, 2 had already been identified as items that were no longer being required in their current capacity, as they had been identified at the beginning of the year and rolled into other projects. So that leaves only 1 item was not actually completed, and that's Phillip Street, the construction of Phillip Street, which is now completed and was completed in July, but obviously that's past our reporting deadline of 30 June. Therefore, there's no carryover projects, so no projects that weren't completed in the last financial year that need to carry over into this current year. So therefore, the current planning year is full steam ahead and there's nothing holding it back, which is great news. You'll also see in the report that the year-on-year success is still increasing with an over 20% increase year-on-year success rate. And there's a graph in there that shows a dip in the achievements back since level 18, since the 18-19 year. And I just wanted to point that out and talk about the difference there, because it would appear from after 18-19 to be a significant dip in operational plan achievement, and then obviously an increase from there. I think it's important to note that at that point in time is when we started reporting on different things. So from the 18-19 year, prior to that in the operational plan, we were including a lot of BAU type of activities and a lot of business as usual. So there was a lot of activity that was included in the report, but it was also just reporting on a lot of BAU. From 18-19 onwards is when we really started doing improvement and new initiatives. And there was a lot, as we've talked about in the past. In that first year, there was over 100 items. So we've really focused, I guess the good news is we are really just reporting on new initiatives and improvement items, not just BAU, and we're getting better at delivering it. We're reducing the number of activities that we're doing, but we're focusing them. We're combining a lot of smaller activities into work packages, and we're building the capability of the business to be able to plan and deliver these projects better. Any questions?
I believe Councillor Branthwaite has a question.
It's it's probably an inquiry more than anything, because of the fact that we're obviously this whole I suppose the quarterly plan has been evolving for a number of years, and I'll be honest, I'm a new kid to the block, and there's a lot of these things that have been completed, but are there a lot of things that are still yet to be done? Is it continual improvement, or is it or just ticking boxes? Not, I wouldn't say just ticking boxes, because that sounds a bit sort of formal, but once we've done something, is there something to progress on from there?
Yeah, so obviously everything feeds to our corporate plan, and we've got a very strong vision of where we want to be 5 years from now, and the annual, this is the annual plan, which then should feed into that. The annual planning cycle allows us to identify and rise to the top, I guess, the top sort of, in this case, 15 priorities. Within each of those 15 priorities, though, they're one work package, so there's a number of activities that have to happen within that item. They're the business priorities. We're able to really resource them, get right behind them, and make sure that they're completed. Once they're completed, they unlock the next piece, which is the next annual plan. So the current annual plan that you've endorsed, that we're currently out working, is the work that flows after this. It's also what happens in the business is continuous improvement. So continuous improvement is where we enable and we work with the business to build the capability to just continually improve the things that we do each and every day. They don't get necessarily raised up to this level of reporting.
I guess you raised the Phillip Street precinct, and, from outside looking in, there's actually more to be done, but it's not completed. So this is the phase that you're talking about now. Is phase one's being completed? There's another 3 buildings to go on the front of the site yet?
Yeah, so the operational plan item that we were reporting on, that was to construct the buildings. So construction being complete means that is now complete. There is now a full activity happening in the business in CD&E, community development events, which is around operationalising the facility, and then future strategic discussions to happen with council around the next phases and stages of the project.
Okay, cool, thank you, well done.
Thank you.
Just to comment, Mr Mayor, if I may, item 7.1 in that report, maximising delivery of our works program. It's good to see that we're implementing our investment decision framework. We're doing a lot with capital management project, management of capital portfolios, and maintenance, and the maintenance framework too. So we're moving very much in the right direction. I'm impressed by that. Also, the maintenance planning looks like it's seeing an improvement as well. So that's good. Thank you.
Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Great report. I like the way it's set out. It's clear and easy for people to understand, and particularly some of the data that you pulled out. I'll just touch on $27.1 million in successful grants for the year, 161 events hosted at the Entertainment Centre. We've got 2,749 road repairs. There has been 33 on average full-time trainees and apprentices, which is great to see. We're investing in future opportunities for people within the region. There's over 2,500 native plants and trees planted for the year, and we've got 330-odd thousand for the number of times that GRC is engaged with the community on social media. And I reckon if you take into account councillors' engagement on social media, we could probably just about match that as well. But I think we all do our part. But it's just really good to see the amount of work and the scale and the size of work that happens, and the services that are delivered to the community. So hopefully anyone that's interested can jump on there and have an in-depth look at what Gladstone Regional Council does for them each year. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great report, Carly, and very easy to read. Any questions online? No. Okay, Councillor Hanson, happy to move?
Happy to move, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Seconded, Councillor O'Grady. Thank you. Put the motion. All in favour. That's carried. The next item on the agenda is G3.4, which is the 2021-2022 Strategic Priorities document. Councillor Trevor was declaring a conflict of interest, and I may, depending on how the conversation goes, but back to you, Carly.
Mayor, I have leave to leave the meeting in order to have my second AstraZeneca needle. It may be appropriate that I leave the chamber now, given that this matter is to be discussed, and given that by the time I get back, the meeting, I suspect, will be concluded. But I will come back and collect my Vietnam Veterans Day speech for tomorrow, which most, if not all, councillors are attending. But it's probably an appropriate time that I leave now in order to get that. So
before you leave, I had you leaving at 9:30. Do you want me to do another item first? Or
if that works for you, Mayor, I'm more than happy to accommodate that.
I might hold that agenda because we would like you to get your immunisation. So let's hold that agenda item. Brooke, I don't need to move it to hold that item, do I?
Apologies, I do think you need to move a procedural motion to change the order of the business.
Thanks. I'll have a mover that we move that to a later date. Thank you, Councillor O'Grady. Thank you, Councillor Goodluck. All in favour? Where did Councillor Churchill go? There he is. Churchy, thank you. All carried. We'll come back to that item. So the next item on the agenda will be the Regional Queensland Council of Mayors membership invitation, and I'll hand to the CEO, Lisa Dowling.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, as you'll see from the report, we've been invited along with other councils to join the Regional Queensland Council of Mayors. There's all the information provided there in attachments. It's a large group of councils, some 43 local governments that have been invited. There's some information there about the cost of membership, which has been estimated for the first and second year there, which aren't budgeted items but can be accommodated through some savings if councils have a mind to join the organisation. The recommendation is to decline the invitation purely on the basis that council's heavily involved with CQ Rock as well as the Local Government Association of Queensland, and it's difficult to determine what the additional benefits of this organisation would be, but of course that's up to councils to determine if you would like to accept the invitation or not. So happy to answer any questions, or the Mayor may also want to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks. Happy to answer questions as well. Councillors, questions to CEO or myself? Branthwaite.
What's your thoughts on this?
You can ask me that. Look, I understand and accept what the mayors are trying to achieve, but we have Local Government Association of Queensland, represents all 77 councils in Queensland. We have the Australian Local Government Association, which I'm Vice President of. We represent all 537 councils in Australia. And in Central Queensland, we have CQ Rock, which represents our Central Queensland councils. And even our other councils that aren't in CQ Rock, I work very closely with North Burnett, South Burnett and Bundaberg, our next closest neighbours to the south and southwest. I'm happy with the recommendation. I know that'll be disappointing to some of our mayors in the north that would like to see us join, but at the moment I just don't know that that the benefit's there for us. But certainly wish them all the very best. That's my thoughts as well.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's like a duplication of everything, and there could be obviously other reasons behind it. Are you aware of any other reasons behind a gathering like this?
No, nothing in addition to what's been presented. I haven't been to any of the meetings that have been held previously. My understanding is it's a desire to have a greater advocacy presence across a broader group of local governments. I think there are some challenges with that, with such a broad group and being able to find the common ground there. But certainly there's a lot of good intent and a lot of activity that we've observed. So, yeah, it's totally at the discretion of council. Yeah.
Councillor Goodluck?
I'm of the view that I totally understand the power of the collective, and we're involved with a number of associations like the Local Government Association of Queensland and particularly the Central Queensland Regional Organisation of Councils, which I feel like we're really doing some great work there. I would just question for, I think it was $23,000 a year or whatever it ends up being next year, and I think there was 43 potential members, what value that we would get out of that at this point in time. And we've already got LGAQ, CQ Rock, we've got a number of other collaborations that we're involved in as well with IQ Rap and Capricorn Pest Management Group, Councillor Cameron and myself were there not long ago. So there's a whole bunch of different things that there's got to be a time where you say, and just focus on the work that we are doing to try and get outcomes. So I'm happy with the officer's recommendation.
Thanks. And I think Mackay Mayor is here in Gladstone for our ROC meeting, maybe, and might be putting the case forward. Is that right?
I believe so, and just to update council, since I wrote this report, Rockhampton Regional Council is the only council that has resolved to join. I believe Banana Shire Council delegated to the Mayor and CEO to make that decision, but other councils have resolved to not become a member, so there may be some further discussion on Friday. So that is an option that's presented there if council wanted to delegate to the Mayor to make that decision at a later date. But that's where we currently stand.
Happy for the council to make the call, but over to you, Councillor Trevor.
I'm happy to move the recommendation, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Trevor. I'll get a seconder first. Seconder, please, Councillor Cameron. Online, Councillor Moscato or Churchill? No comments? No? Thank you. No further conversation. I will put the motion. All in favour? And those online, thank you. The motion's carried. Thank you, Lisa. The next item on the agenda is G3.6, which is the Local Government Association of Queensland Annual Conference attendance. And I'll hand back to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors would be aware that the annual conference is coming up in October this year for Local Government Association of Queensland, and we're required to resolve who Council's 2 delegates are for voting purposes at the conference. So in your report, there's the list of councillors who are attending the conference, so you can select from those councillors who you'd like to represent you in the voting.
Councillors, obviously as an executive member of the LGAQ and Policy Exec Representative for Central Queensland, I would like to be a delegate as I have in the past. I need to move a policy executive motion, so in order to do that I have to be a delegate. Councillor Muscat has also a motion to present, and then Councillor Goodluck will be required to second that motion. So my recommendation is that myself and Councillor Muscat be appointed delegates, and then I will proxy to Councillor Goodluck once the policy executive motion is carried, which it will be. Any further comments? Councillor Trevor.
Happy to move that recommendation, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Trevor. Seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor O'Grady. Any conversation or questions? No? Put the motion. All in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. And now the next item on the agenda is G3.7, which is the 2021 National Local Roads and Transport Congress, which the in-person conference has been cancelled, but I'll hand to Lisa for an update.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, this physical conference has been cancelled, so we no longer require authorisation of members to attend. So my recommendation is that Council moves a motion that no action be taken on agenda item G/3.7.
Thank you, Lisa. Is there any conversation? No, just update as the Vice President of ELGA. If it is virtual, I'll probably attend virtually, but there'll be no need for a resolution in terms for that. So, Councillor Hanson, you happy to move?
Happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Branthwaite. Sorry, Councillor Churchill. I did see it a bit late. Put the motion. All in favour? That's very procedural, easy one. Thank you, and that's carried. I'll keep, how long going with Councillor Trevor? We'll keep moving through and then we'll come back to the other item. We don't have any deputations today. Councillor reports, before I go to other councillors, something I left out, which is outrageous, of my Mayor's statement, which I want to put in a councillor report, is I want to say thank you to the 57 employees who celebrated their long service milestone at Council. I had it on a separate bit of paper and I didn't read it out. We had 25 staff members celebrating 10 years of service, 14 celebrating 15 years of service, 11 celebrating 20 years of service, 4 staff members celebrating 25 years, and 2 celebrating 30 years, which is Joanne Webb and Rod Story. And then we have 1 employee who's in the gallery celebrating 35 years, which is our General Manager of Customer Experience, Rob Huth. So well done, Rob, 35 years. Fantastic. Collectively, that's 875 years of combined service from those 57 employees to our community. It's an outstanding effort, and I want to say thank you. I did actually put it on a separate bit of paper to read out, and then I didn't, so there you go. I had to make sure we acknowledge our staff for the great work they do in our community. Other councillors' reports, please. Councillor O'Grady, no? Sorry. Over here, no councillor. Online. No councillor reports. Councillor Churchill, yes?
Can I just make a brief comment, Mayor Matt, to the council? As everybody would be aware, there was an announcement in relation to Darwin yesterday. Myself and Gary Scanlon, our economic development specialist, arrived in Darwin on Sunday in readiness for the Developing Northern Australia Conference with many, many other delegates. Resultantly, as a result of the announcement by the Chief Health Officer yesterday, we were evacuated as a priority overnight, and I would like to thank all the officers through you, Lisa, and I know that you're involved. We do appreciate your best efforts to be able to get myself and Gary Scanlon, and we flew out with the member for Gladstone as well, Glenn Butcher, along with many, many others. So there was a fair amount of chaos and emotional turmoil at the airport, but we have arrived back in Gladstone, and the two key points I wanted to, over and above thanking those who were able to help us get out in the uncertain circumstances, is waiting now for any potential announcement from the Queensland Health Officer as we deal with the confusion that comes out of the on-again, off-again COVID circumstances. That's the first thing. And I believe that should be about 10 o'clock this morning. Then we'll have a greater understanding of what compliance requirements will be under the COVID restrictions in relation to those who flew back in from Darwin overnight. The other part of it is the Developing Northern Australia Conference. From the latest advice received this morning when we came in through the Gladstone Airport, is that the conference will still proceed on a virtual basis, and we will be doing our presentation at 2:30 this afternoon. However, in discussions with the member for Gladstone and a number of other delegates, we may be putting up a suggestion back to the conference conveners that perhaps they either postpone to later in the year or cancel it completely and reorganise the conference for 2022. And that's probably it at this stage through you, Matt. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Churchill. Yeah, I think you might be expected to self-isolate for 14 days. We'll soon find out.
Well, whatever the requirements will be, as you know, this council has been fully compliant and will continue to be fully compliant, as each and every one of us are dealing with this on a daily basis. But we will do whatever is requested and required by the law.
Thank you, Councillor Churchill. Before I go back to the motion of 3.4, Brooke, can I just check? Councillor Branthwaite seconded the minutes from the previous meeting. Other meetings I've chaired in the past, if you can second the minutes if you hadn't attended, but you can't move them, is that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move back to item G 3.4, and we'll thank Councillor Trevor as he has his AstraZeneca immunisation.
Thank you, Mayor, thank you, CEO, and thank you, councillors and officers.
Mr. Mayor, I just couldn't resist to say I feel a bit isolated over this side today. I haven't got the backup of my normal other councillors on this side, so just be careful what you say.
Be assured, Councillor Rick, we will return.
Thank you. Well, as I said, we'll hand back now to Carly Quinn, the General Manager of Strategy and Transformation, for item G 3.4, the 2021-2022 Strategic Priorities document. Thank you, Carly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councillors. So each year our Economic Development Specialist works with both internal and external stakeholders, including council, to refresh our Strategic Priorities document. The work's used to support our advocacy programs across council. Over the past 2 years, we have found this document very valuable in a lot of external stakeholder applications. So we have, or it's Office's recommendation that we continue to produce and update this every year. Our current priorities are presented as either enabling infrastructure, such as the Gladstone Heavy Vehicle Transport Corridor, inland rail extension to the Port of Gladstone, Gladstone Coal Exporters Upgrade, facility upgrade, Boyne Tanham Aquatic Recreation Centre, Boyne Burnett Inland Rail Trail, and the Jumpstart Our City Heart being the Harbour Arbour project. And also under strategic policy, ageing in place, federal assistance grants increase, drought communities program extension, renewable energy and transitioning economy, and manufacturing and skills development. Office's recommendation today is that Council endorse the 2021 strategic priorities document, and after which it can be published and officers and councillors can commence using it to advocate. Any questions?
Thank you. Questions to the General Manager, please. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm just wondering whether the Slouch Hat Museum might be added to the list or considered. It's gaining quite a bit of momentum at the moment. I understand the business case is just about ready to be presented. And there is a very, as you've seen, there's been a very, very good and a very extensive promotion video made of it. And I understand that there is some interest in that.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Quinn, sorry. General
Definitely
Manager
not.
Quinn.
No, thank you.
Is that something we can add it to the...
Yeah, I think it's absolutely something Council could consider. At the moment, we are waiting for that grant to be acquitted. Part of the acquittal process is that business case and all of that information is presented back to Council. My recommendation would be that we wait to see all of that information, because that then tells us what we would be advocating for and how much money the group need to continue. But I would probably encourage the group to finalise acquittal and then for us to consider that.
Thank you. Happy with that, Councillor Cameron?
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Hanson.
Yeah, there is a process to add items, and you know, I've got one in mind. When is the next official time that we can? When's the next time we'll be talking about this at a meeting of some sort? Because there is an indoor facility needed here, indoor recreational facility or sporting facility required in the city and in the region now. So. It's something we should probably add down the track once we get to the process side of it.
Yeah, so the annual process for inclusion in this publication as such, which is really just, I guess, the publication end of our strategic priorities, is around about June each year. That's when we come to refresh. But the process you're probably talking about is the investment decision framework, and that particular project, as you've followed the right process, you've raised it at gate zero, and it is now working its way through the investment decision framework. So I think that's it's on the right track to be included if it gets through all the right gates and Council decides to do that.
In saying that though, if we get too many projects on a list like this, it becomes a bit clumsy too. So it's probably something we need to probably look at down the track as well.
Yeah, no, I think both projects that councillors have recommended are very worthy to be added at some point in time. Thank you. Any further comments or questions, suggestions, councillors? Councillor Muscat.
Thank you. I've just we just mentioned the investment decision framework, and I just can't. I need to just raise these. There's a number of different projects that different groups around the community and around the region, the 10,000 square kilometers of region that we have. There's projects that lots of people will consider that are important, and I'm not doubting that they think it's important, but we have services to deliver and we have priorities to address. So you know, we also just worked on our corporate plan. Things that come to the table, they're not just, oh yeah, this is a great idea, we should put it in our priority list project. So it's not the way it works or should work. So we invested hundreds and thousands of dollars putting processes and procedures in place to make sure that ratepayers' money and also taxpayers' money are used to the best of, to provide the best outcomes for everyone. So just, you know, we had extended discussions about this project, for example, the Slouch Hat Museum. Well, there's lots of people that want lots of different things, and we do help as much as we can, but that doesn't mean that some things like that become priorities of the council. before going through the process that all other projects need to go through. So I just wanted to put it out there because, I mean, I can think of a number of other projects that I like to see, or my kids like to see, or, you know, my friend like to see, but that's probably not the right process to follow.
No, I'd like to hear those suggestions at some point in time, though, so we can have them discussed at a council meeting and then potentially added to our strategic priorities document too. So.
No, I just have to back Councillor Muscat on that. With the investment decision framework, we've been working towards this. We've been asking for it. It's starting to be implemented. We have to really adhere to it, unless in a table like this, there's always a political thing that comes up from time to time that may jump over this sort of process. I hope not too many times, but we should be using it to the best of our ability now.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions, councillors? Councillor Churchill, is that no? Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to say that I love this document again. It is a great thing. We'll be sending this to all candidates.
Okay, if you're going to do that,
I'm not going there, but that's our process. Yes, with this, obviously. Just mentioned it. I don't want to talk about it or discuss it, but just to point out, you know, we've got there's a couple of projects in there that have been through those processes over an extended period of time. But there's also real sort of future thinking, visionary thinking. We look at the enabling infrastructure, the Gladstone heavy vehicle transport corridor, the inland rail extension of the Port of Gladstone, which I know Mayor Matt and Councillor Churchill have been working on for a lengthy period of time. There's also other things like the manufacturing and skills development. Manufacturing is the number one pillar in our economy, and calling for policy to support regional manufacturing and investment to make sure that we still are the manufacturing and industry hub in this region in 10, 20, 30 years' time. So it's a good forward thinking, it's a well thought out, well planned document, and hopefully, even if we can get one commitment from candidates or governments after elections, it'll be great for our region.
Thank you. You say candidates one more time, I'm going to hand over the chairmanship to you. Thank you, Councillor Muscat, then Councillor Churchill.
Hi, and I just, sorry, I guess I jumped in the being a bit negative first. I should have done the positive part first. I really like the document, Carly and Gary, and those ones that were involved in the development of the document. It's a big improvement from documents that we had in the past. The one last year was good and a humongous improvement from the previous year, so the year before last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Muscat. Councillor Churchill.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mayor Matt. Just go back to Councillor Khan's comments as such. Yeah, it's a great document, Carly. Fantastic. But I know we've had previous discussions about the aspects of advocacy, and I know Councillor Khan and I have had some good, robust discussions. But there needs to be the call for action. That's effectively what we want to do. We can advocate, and as I raised previously, we've had previous documents that relate to advocacy because we see them as a priority, not only from our long-term financial plan perspective, but the community needs. And I'm just really hoping that when we do distribute this, and I won't say the C word as such, but the reality of it is that we need to ensure that whatever communique that we sent as an overarching document, that it is a call to action by all involved. And for those who will end up being successful, and there will be successful ones who are the outcomes, even if we don't get it prior to, we need to ensure that these projects are still on their high list of priorities as a call for action for the future. I don't think we should ever walk away from the fact that the advocacy document is putting it in front of the faces and not only just the people that are putting their names up, but also their advisors as well. And whatever the outcome may be, it still needs to be, as I'll say again, a call for action to ensure that there is a continual follow-up, that they just don't simply fall off our agenda, the community agenda, and the elected members' agenda and the government's agenda. I'm sure Councillor Khan has an opinion on that as well. Thank you.
He does, and he would like to reply.
No, I agree with you, Councillor Churchill. I just wanted to mention, it'd be remiss of me not to mention that there is one item that's not on this document, and that was the distribution priority area for GPs and the adding back of Gladstone onto the DPA. And that was on our strategic priorities document for the last 2 to 3 years, I believe. It was absolutely a position of council to advocate for that. I know member for Flynn Ken O'Dowd and member for Gladstone Glenn Butcher, many doctors and practice managers around the region campaigned and advocated for a long time, and we have been successful in getting Gladstone placed back onto the distribution priority area. And I know that those doctors and GPs around the region were rejoicing when the news came through. It certainly doesn't resolve all our issues with respect to GPs and health services, but it does. It's one less barrier for people to have to jump over. So it is great to see that that's not there anymore, and hopefully, and it was a box that we have ticked, a little bit of success. And let's hope we can continue to tick in boxes moving forward. And I agree with Councillor Churchill. We've got to fire up, mate. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor.
What is the C word again?
Yeah, thank you for that C word.
No,
that's what you said, Councillor. What is the C word?
Well, the Mayor Matt said.
Don't need to know.
Okay, we've gone a bit. I just, on that, Councillor Goodluck, you've mentioned a lot of people there. I would like to mention that it's not just a small box to tick. That was a significant win for our community, and you need to take the credit for that as well, yourself and Dr. Gaston, for advocating for that and not giving up and being relentless in your pursuit to make sure that happened. It will make a huge difference. In addition to all those other people that advocated for it as well, and I'm sure every councillor around this room, but yourself and Dr. Gaston certainly were the loudest voices that were heard everywhere, and it was good to see a successful victory there. And if we can tick off all these boxes on this priorities document, that'll be fantastic as well. Obviously, Inland Rail is a very important project for all in central Queensland, not just for Gladstone, but for all local governments in Australia. That 1% of financial assistance grants will help so much for councils, particularly like our friends in the north and Burnett. Any further comments or questions on this one, councillors? No? Can I have a mover for the document, please? Move Councillor O'Grady, second to Councillor Braithwaite. Sorry, Councillor Churchill, I missed you again.
You're right.
No, it's all good. I'll put the motion. All in favour? I need to see hands online. That motion is carried, and it's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. There's no urgent business. There's no notice of motion. I don't have any confidential items. And therefore, I'll declare the meeting closed at 9:45 and then welcome the gallery for morning tea. Thank you. Well, I'm here with James Bentley. He's the manager of Gladstone Regional Council's Revenue Services, and we're going to answer a few questions that the local community have regarding rates. So, James, thanks for being here this
Pleasure
afternoon.
to be here, Matt.
First one is general rates versus service charges. James, can you explain to the ratepayers or local community the difference between general rates and service charges?
Sure, Matt. Service charges are the charges we pay when we use a service, and the three services that come to mind are waste, sewer and water. So what a service charge is our contribution towards the provision of those services in our local community. So if I have access to waste, water and sewer, I'm expected to make a contribution to those services. General rates, on the other hand, are the charges that council levies on the community for the provision of income for council's general operating expenses. All the other services that council provides. It's a big pot that council uses to spend money according to the community's wishes.
All right, so lots of people, I always hear this argument over the years of rates time is, I've got a property in Brisbane and my rates are cheaper in Brisbane. Can you explain to community why that is?
When you look at rates and comparisons between different local government areas, you have to really compare apples with apples. Now, Brisbane has over 400,000 dwellings, residences. Gladstone has about 22,000 places where people live. It really is a function of size. We're 10,000 square kilometres. Brisbane's 1,300. We've got a huge network of roads, right from Rosedale all the way up to Mount Larkham and beyond. So we have to really do a lot, make our dollars go a lot further, and we've only got a smaller population. So that's why we don't have the same size, but we have to provide the same level of service.
Can you talk about how people can get a discount and how many days they have to get the discount, and also a bit about how they can get a concession?
Yes. Well, this should come from New South Wales, where hardly anyone gets a discount. So it's great to be up here when actually see a local government that's providing a discount. So what you do is, provided you pay your rates in full by the discount due date, which is normally 60 days after the notice is issued. So we will issue our notice in the middle of August. So by the middle of October, if you pay those rates in full, you'll get a 10% discount on the whole thing, except the emergency management levy, which is a Queensland government charge, and your water consumption. So all the service charges we spoke of, the rates charge, 10% discount, provided you pay by middle of October, 60 days afterwards.
Okay, one question which I sort of touched on before was concessions. What concessions are available?
The good news is that council provides substantial concessions to pensioners, and we encourage pensioners to contact us to make sure and inquire about their eligibility. In terms of the pensioner concession, there are three requirements, and they're all pretty straightforward, really. You have to own the place, you have to live there as your principal residence, and you have to have a pensioner concession card issued by Centrelink, or a gold card issued by DBA, Department of Veterans Affairs. So provided those three criteria are met, you're entitled to a pensioner concession, which is funded by council and also funded by the Queensland government as well. So in the financial year just ended, the average concession amounted to approximately $500 in the year just ended. So it's certainly worthwhile, if you have any questions about entitlement, to give us a call and we can help you make an application.
Okay, final question. If someone's having a hard time paying their rates out, what can we do to help them?
Call us first and we'll help you. We'll help discuss a payment plan, so you'll be able to avoid any interest payments. We'll be able to help you with any hardship relief if you're facing genuinely difficult circumstances, perhaps even get you in touch with a financial counsellor for free to help you through your situation. So what we can do going forward, if you plan, is you can make provision to pay a certain amount every week or every fortnight or every month, so that you might not be able to get the discount, but at least you'll be able to pay your rates in full by the end of the year. So please, it's very hard sometimes when you're in trouble, but just give us a call and we'll do all we can to help you.
Awesome. Thanks, James. We're adopting the Gladstone Regional Council budget on Tuesday. It will be live streamed, of course, on Council's website and Facebook. So tune in and we'll keep up to date on what's happening with our budget on Tuesday and general rates and service charges and all the rest of it that'll happen then. So thank you. Thanks, James.
Thanks very much, mate.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.